All right, guys. Today we got Nick Plewniak back on. Saying that right? That's a tough one. That one always gets me. Yeah.
It's close enough.
Yeah. Is it close enough? All right.
Nick Plewniak, yep, from Hustlin Horsepower.
Yep.
I'm glad to be back on here, guys. If you didn't see the last one, that was what, 2 years ago now?
2 years ago.
Probably 2 years ago now. Yeah, and we did the. Sorry, my voice is a little bit coarse too.
Yeah.
Probably talked to 500 people last night, at least.
Yeah, that was a cool event.
That was an awesome event. I guess we could just get into it. Cletus, you are a bad man. What you are doing for motorsports is admirable beyond like the levels of, in my opinion, just about anyone else doing this stuff in the motorsports world. And like, we just do drag race, and like you're mostly drag racing, but like you can venture off into doing the podcast with different genres and stuff like that. But the way he's doing it, in just all different forms of motorsports and really investing into motorsports as a whole is impressive. And what was it, a 6-hour show last night, something like that? Probably 6 hours long. Like, we were talking to people that came down all the way down to Bradenton, Florida, all the way up from West Virginia, all the way up from Pennsylvania and stuff like that for a 6-hour show. Like, that's something to write home about. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I'm sure they probably try to make a weekend out of it or something like that, but, you know, taking the work off of Friday just to come down for, you know, a 6-hour show is...
Just for like a Christmas tree race where there's only one class.
Yeah, there's one class.
There's
32 cars.
Oh, I had a biscuit before, so it's very dry. But yeah, it's just the one class and some jet cars, and then test and tune. Mm-hmm. But they came down from everywhere for that deal, and I tell racers this all the time that I meet. I'm like, if you've never experienced a Christmas tree race, you should, because that's where you'll talk to people that have never been to a racetrack before, and they're there all night with their family. It's like a festival more than it is like a race almost.
It was huge. I talked to a guy. I met him back down here when I came down for the IHRA Super Nationals back in like 2015, helping out some people. But this dude showed up all the way from freaking Aruba just for the Christmas tree race.
That's so cool.
Like, that is freaking awesome. And like, that's probably like, we're in 2024, so that had to be like 6-7 years ago was like the last time I talked to this guy. And he's been following along on like the YouTube a little bit, and I get too busy and I don't put out YouTube videos like I should, but I try to make Facebook posts pretty regularly and stuff like that on the Hustlin Horsepower page. But he's like, I've been following you around like since I met you, like back in whatever it was, 2016. And yeah, he came in from freaking Aruba. Not just for me, just like to experience the Christmas tree race. And that is like, that's a testament to like what it is. Like, it was awesome. Really cool deal.
They do a really good job with that. The show was moving quick enough. It got finished before too late. Like, it was really good competition. I mean, of course, we wanted to see the finals actually go down because Billy versus Jason would have been, or JT, Terrell would have been freaking awesome. But unfortunately, as racing happens, like with you, your car broke.
Yeah.
Cars break. It was a big block thing.
Yeah, freaking, it could be the stupidest freaking parts. Like, we had a billet mandrel. It drives the fuel pump, so we run a cog setup, which is a 1/2-inch wide belt that attaches from the balancer, which is spinning at engine RPM, to the pump. It's just a 12-gallon a minute pump, but we've made like 2,200 horsepower with the motor I built. And we had about 2,000 horsepower into it at 1.5 seconds at the first round there. And that sucker, it just sheared off at 2.5 seconds. And it's just like, that's something that should never happen.
Did the mandrel break or did the bolts break?
No, the mandrel itself.
The mandrel itself.
Sheared right off.
Because I've seen the bolts break on them too, because they're pretty small hardware. It's not like
so like
nothing crazy.
I'm on big block. They're 3/8/24, and I run stainless bolts on it. I don't use like the black anodized bolts. I use just stainless hardware on it, just because they're countersunk Allens. And if you take the motor like apart and like checking things over a lot, I try to be pretty diligent on that stuff because I run this deal on a pretty tight budget. So you got to put in a little extra effort to try to, monitor everything pretty well. And I looked over the car for probably 4 hours Thursday night after testing. Like, it ran pretty good to the 8th, both hits I made out there. I was pretty excited to see how fast we could go with that body. Like, I know I have a pretty good idea what the engine's capable of and the gearing and everything like that. But it's a 33 Dodge pickup truck, right? And it's got big fenders on it. And it's like, I figured like first round I had a tune-up in it. I was hoping to go low sevens, about 190 mile an hour. And I'm pretty sure it would have done it. Like, It's not an overly impressive backsplit number as far as mile an hour gain, because we've been, 164 or so to the eighth with the car, with a 389 gear set up for like eighth mile stuff that we do, mostly doing the Noprep racing. But yeah, like it was an awesome event. So.
Yeah. So right now you're racing the 33 Dodge truck. I think last time you were here, it was when maybe, I don't know which one you still had. Was it the Dirty 30 at the time?
I might have just put Straight Gangster back together because I think I did, yeah.
And that's what you call the current car.
The Straight Gangster. Yep. Yeah. So it's a 33 Dodge pickup truck. I built that outside. Like, people don't believe it to a certain point, but like there's pictures and like some videos on it and stuff like that. But I built that car literally for $5,000 out of like literally scrap material-ish. Not like complete scrap material, but the previous car we were racing in Mexico and we got hit on the street and the car rolled a couple times in Mexico. But yeah, I was able to salvage like, engine, transmission, electronics out of that car and stuff like that. So the electronics in Straight Gangster don't look the best, but like all the stuff's like, it works pretty well.
Well, there's a pretty crazy video of you getting out of the one car on fire.
Yeah, that was the Dirty 30. That was up at, that was actually the Tin Soldier guys' first Noprep event that they were kind of part of to a certain point. But yeah, that was over at Edgewater there. And yeah, it was just a series of unfortunate circumstances. And yeah, that car burnt to the ground and I got burnt up decently in that fire there.
Yeah, Kyle Loftus was quick on the scene on that one, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he was, yeah. It was like, that was supposed to be a pretty big event, and it was during early COVID, and man, it just turned into a mess. But
yeah, that was a bad deal.
We like as racers, we all did what we could to like minimize the situation to try to save the track and stuff like that, and save the image of what was going on. So it is what it is.
Because of COVID stuff, or because of shutdown, you guys were kind of trying to hide.
Yeah. So like, so like it was technically a test and tune, right? There was no spectators allowed. You were allowed the driver and two crew. We all had a pit like at least 100 feet apart from each other, right? It was just freaking goofy as hell, right?
It's so goofy thinking back on it.
Like
now in 2024, thinking
it was goofy.
Back
I felt like it was goofy when it was going on. I was like,
no, it was goofy at the time, but it felt like acceptable almost.
Yeah, right. But like, you go into let's say you walk into a business, right? The HVAC system like cycles all the air in the building like every 20 minutes, right? So like,
yeah,
I don't know, whatever. Right?
Oh no, it's so dumb. I hope we don't fall into that stupidity again as humans.
I think a lot of people got a different forethought, or like after that whole deal. I'm still not sure we're cleared of it, but yeah, I think a lot of people got a different opinion on that stuff.
Yeah, and people are actually speaking out on their opinion now, which is nice.
And like that, but I believe you almost have to speak out on your opinions to a certain point, right? Like you need to stand up for what's right, and you need to stand up for what you believe in, not to the point where you minimize someone else's opinion, right? But
I give my opinion on things all the time just because I want people to know, like, where I stand. Like,
yeah.
I don't need to pretend anything.
The thing is, like,
I'll tell you straight up where I stand.
So, like, we don't have the biggest social media following, right? We got, like, 40-something thousand on Facebook, and we got, like, 25,000 on YouTube just because, like, I'm too busy to make YouTube videos. Like, I got probably, like, I bought a second phone this year and stuff like that so I could film everything, and, like, there's probably 20 YouTube videos sitting on there waiting to be edited, and I just literally don't have the time to get it done. But
what if I said you don't have the time not to do it?
You're 100% right.
Like,
you're 100% right. But like, you got a kid now, right? And like, I got a 2-year-old, and like, I don't know.
I think you need to just learn how to do it very quickly and very raw, and not worry as much about quality, because
you're 100% right.
Yes, you can worry about quality, but if you're not putting anything out, then the quality is actually zero.
Exactly. So like 50% quality is better than 0% quality.
Exactly.
You're right on that. And like, I need to really start doing it. So like, I don't want to say it this way. How do I say it this way without being like sounding like cocky or something? Because like I did this stuff pretty hardcore since I was like 16 years old, like legit. Like I think I was like 17 years old the first time like I headed out of state like solo to go racing just because I wanted to go to the race, right? Like it was just me and like I went out there, right? But like drag week was the first time, like 2013, when I went on to like the bigger stage with like 1320 and like that video right there had something like, I don't know. It was like one of their top 3 videos or something like that.
Yeah, the stretchy truck,
with
right?
the stretchy truck, yeah.
That
and
then long ass, what was it, an S10?
Yeah, S10 with another twin turbo with big blocks of 572. And like, man, that year was like drag week. Back then, like the drag and drive stuff now, not to take anything away from it, but back in those days, well, that's 11 years ago now, right? They made it torture on you. Like they were having us drive through state parks and stuff like that. Like legit. There was times I remember like I drove with Jeff Lutz Jr. in the Honda Civic the one year. Jeff Lutz Sr. won it in the Camaro, and I think we came in third. Jeffrey came in third place, and I was his crew guy there. That was during the time I was building the Dirty 30. But yeah, I was his crew guy there, and at that time I was traveling with Jeff, the Lutz Race Cars crew, doing the Pro Mod stuff and Streetcar Super Nationals and some of the radial stuff down in like Memphis and stuff like that. But he has a little tube chassis Honda Civic. It was a twin turbo small block Chevy at the time. Made like it was a fast car, and we're taking this thing through a state park, and the thing's low, right? We got that thing stuck in a rut. I swear to God, right? There's like 5-7 cars, and they're like, "Yeah, you're gonna have to turn around and take a detour." It's like, what the heck? Like, but yeah, like they take you over railroad tracks on purpose just to like make sure you had a streetcar. It's like,
yeah.
Goodness gracious! Like,
well, you know, in a way too, drag and drive has lost its specialness because of that. Because now it's a very saturated thing. It's still very cool and great to do, but it's
like I don't want to take anything away from what it is now, because like
it's awesome.
What Tom Bailey's doing with Sick Week, what Matt Frost is doing with Rocky Mountain Race Weeks. There's multiple of those.
And there's so many other like smaller people.
There's like 30 of them out there now, right? But
I think they said there's 52 this year.
That is crazy. I believe it. It is insanity. But if you guys have never done a drag and drive, this might sound bad coming from someone that was never in the military, but like my perception, it's something that like it forms a brotherhood that like I could only imagine it would be similar to something like a military type deal, right?
Yeah.
Where you're or like, you know, going to like the state finals on like your sports team, right? It creates a brotherhood that is just, it's different. But of course,
you shared misery, and everybody's going through the same misery, no matter how much money you have.
Yeah, it's a very unifying type event. Like drag racing is like let's break it down. Like drag racing is a money sport. Like it is, right? Like you got to have the parts, and like if you can afford the parts, then if you're able to afford like, you know, better crew guys or this or that, like it breaks it down to a money sport, right? Drag and drive is a little bit more of a level playing field because everyone's in the same endurance aspect of it. But the only thing the social media stuff has grown so large and so many people have gotten such a large following since back then in like 2013 that it's so easy for people to get parts nowadays, right? Like back in I remember back in 2013, right? We were helping out a friend of ours. When I say a friend of ours, someone that we met on Drag Week, right? That is now a friend. But he had an MSD box go bad on his car, right? We're stuck at a gas station. A farmer rolls up, and he had this freaking like old Chevelle in his barn that had an MSD 6AL. So they literally drove to the barn and cut it apart, right? Nowadays, people just make a Facebook post, and someone drives 4 hours to give them an MSD 6AL.
Yeah.
Like, that's a totally different...
The luck of that.
Yeah, the luck of it, but the genuineness of that is just a little bit different, and it makes it a little bit. I just feel like it was a little bit more hardcore. Describes it, but I don't think that's the word for it. Just a little bit more like genuine of how it was, and like the humanity of the event, right? Because people that didn't like have an idea what drag week was, right? And you just explain to them, hey, we're on this 1,500-mile road trip over 5 days, and we're racing at 4 different tracks over 5 days, and my MSD box just burnt up in the passenger seat, right? It's like, and the guy was like, hey, I got one in my old hot rod back to the barn. Jump in the passenger seat. I'll go take you there. And like, you go and get a friggin', and you go for the ride with the guy, right? And
well,
like,
even, you know, the velocity of information, knowing what's happening minute by minute. I could be sitting here and I know minute by minute what's going on at, you know, sick week.
Yep. And it's
very different.
It's very different. And it's just, even remote tuning, right? Remote tuning wasn't that big of a thing back then, right? Nowadays, like, it used to be just like man and machine, like driver, co-driver, and the car. And nowadays, like, I'm not knocking it, but like nowadays, you know, you're an impound, right? And like, you're supposed to be tuning your own car, right? You have to diagnose that coil that went bad. You have to diagnose you have to diagnose that, you know, your rocker arm friggin' broke, or you got to get diagnosed that, you know, I'm talking about like really basic stuff here, but like you have to diagnose problems, right? Like drive shaft speed sensor is going bad. If you don't have a drive shaft speed sensor, like a spare, and you're an impound, you don't have traction control on your car no more, right? Like that's just how it is, and you don't have data for like your power management, right? Like back then, it just is what it is. After you turn in your time slip, you go try to find one. But nowadays, like with the remote tuning, and it's just a little bit more friendly, I guess you could say, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but man, if you survived impound and stuff like that back in the day, like it was rough. Like there was just like, it was really black and white deals where you couldn't have a guy look over your tune-up while you're trying to fix your car. Like back then, like you had to fix your car and then you had to come up with a tune-up for the next pass. And like,
I've seen some shady things where I'm like, how many people are working on that car?
Yeah, and it's just like, to me, I'm not going to name names, but I've had people say, well, if you were in that position, you'd do it too. I was like, well, guys, like, I had 40,000 people on, like, Facebook, and, like, I told people, like, no, you're not touching this car. Like, if we're an impound, like, you're not touching the car. Like, I did drag week solo, I think 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row, something like that. 4 years in a row. I completed every year doing it. Came in third place the 1 year solo. That was pretty fun. But yeah, like, it's just a little bit different now.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And, you know, all racing has evolved over time. You know, the spirit of the events are different. There's more events, so there's more competition, so they can't really make it as difficult, because if they make it more difficult, then you're just going to stop going to that. You'll go to sick week. You'll go to this one.
At that point, we could turn this into a financial conversation, right? Yeah. But like at the end of the day, it is all business, right? And there's a lot of people doing this stuff for the right reasons. But in businesses are designed to make money.
Yeah.
And like, there's not many businesses out there that are designed just to exist and help people out.
Yeah, these are not non-for-profit.
They're not non-for-profit businesses. Yeah. Like, so, yeah, like it comes into the competition deal where if you upset your spectators by making a rule that's going to make it more difficult, well, they might just go to the other 51 events that are out there. And this isn't just talking about drag week. This is talking about, you know, all different events. And like, it's one of the reasons why I like the Noprep stuff as much as I do, because there aren't a lot of rules. So I can go through and I could use my knowledge and stuff like that. And like, I could experiment with different things where in class racing, I'd be outlawed in a lot of different stuff that I do with the car.
Yeah. And you'd have to have, you know, the best of the best.
Yeah, you have to.
Like if, you know, your car, like you're saying, it's a budget build. It has used this and old that, and it, like if you were like, oh, I'm gonna go class racing, you'd have to get the best of the best turbo. The engine have to be perfect. Like
like in like my motor's like, it's a twin turbo big block Chevy with twin 88s on it. But honestly, it's got Bosch 210s in it, air motive, 12 gallon a minute pump. It makes 2,200. We're right around 2,200. We made 1980 to the wheels on the dyno, and like, I was still making 40 pounds of horsepower per pound of boost. Past that, and like we've been, you know, considerably past that, and I've had the nitrous on it, and you had nitrous do a turbo car, and like they really wake up and they're happy.
I like nitrous on my turbo car.
So, but yeah, getting back to it, like that big block Chevy would get outlawed in maybe we'll just say a small block class, right? But there's small blocks out there. Like, what are you going to consider a small block? A 4.6 bore space small block, or like a like a Proline small block that's 500 cubic inches where there's like nothing bolts on, right? And like,
is it a Hemi?
like that motor might make 2,800, 3,200 horsepower compared to my big block that I built myself for like literally less than $10,000. I have it in the whole motor, like intake to pan, right?
Well, so you look at Grubworm. I mean, small block, it makes 3,200 horsepower.
It's freaking big power, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, like that budget deal there, where class racing gets expensive, right? Because I can't take my big block that makes less power than some of the really good small blocks out there and compete with them, right? So you have to have, you got to have like the best of the best when you go do like that class legal.
Well, your combo, like that's like an LDR combo on paper, which would have to run 390s on,
exactly.
You know.
And in the Noprep stuff, it's like, if we go, like, I was hoping to go, like, you know, I figured it'd probably go a 470 or so, like last night on that pass, if it didn't shut off, 470 or so to the 8th. And that's not bad or nothing like that. Like, that's fast, and that's not, like, taken away from anyone else doing this stuff, right? Because, like, I started off, my first pass was like a 918 in the 8th, right? Like, and then, like, it just evolved from there.
As it should be.
As it should be, right?
Some of these people, you know, you roll out and you're like, my first pass, and they go 460s, and you're like,
yeah.
Ooh,
so, like, it's all...
That's very fast.
We talked about this on, like, the last podcast, too, where the social media stuff kind of kicks the newcomers in the shins to a certain point, right? Because a lot of the social media people make it seem so easy to go fast. And, like, sometimes it is, right? Like...
It's easy. It just takes money.
It just takes money, right?
Yeah.
But, like... If you make a 400 horsepower, 500 horsepower street car, you could have a lot of fun with that freaking thing. Like, that's still decent horsepower. You can have a lot of fun.
Probably more fun than both of us.
You're probably right. I built a little, in high school, I built a little twin turbo S10 Blazer. First gen deal. Literally, Hot Rod Drag Week, or Hot Rod Magazine was doing like this deal. I graduated high school in 2009. So in I built it in like 2007, 2008-ish. And at that point, they had like the $2,000 drags, right? So in 2008, you had to build the car for less than $2,008, right? And that's what I was like, I had my eye on that. I never did it. But we went 690s at 106 to the 8th. It went 1050s in the quarter. But that was a freaking fun ride.
Yeah.
It was on 93 octane pump gas. I literally built a water methanol injection kit out of like literally the windshield washer bottle, and I added a second deal on it, and like literally they were the hot air turbos out of not even the Grand Nationals, out of the Regals and stuff like that, and they were designed to have they were draw through turbos actually, so they were designed to have the fuel come through the turbo, right, like through a draw through setup. So I was just spraying the water methanol in right through the freaking Spectator Performance freaking air cleaners, right? Like $20 air cleaners I got like from like AutoZone or whatever. And like it made an honest 450 horsepower. And that thing, besides the Dirty 30, has been the funnest car I ever had, right? The Dirty 30 just had like the cool factor to it. And like it went 820s at 174 or something like that on 93 octane pump gas. And it went fast on methanol. We never ran it to the quarter on methanol because like I wouldn't run that car to the quarter on methanol. Like it was just too quick to the 8th. But yeah, like 500 horsepower. Do not, if you have a car that makes 400 or 500 horsepower, enjoy the hell out of it. Like naturally you want to have that evolution of going faster.
Yeah.
But like don't feel minimized, and don't let some of these social media people let you feel minimized for only having 400 horsepower when they just bought a new C8 Corvette that makes 1,000 like off the showroom floor.
I will say, one thing I talk to people about is when they want to get into racing, be smart about the car you get that can evolve. You know, like if you get like a, but like if you get like a Silverado that has like a 5.3 and single cab, that's a car that can evolve. But if you get like a SRT4 Neon, they're cool, but there's an evolution cap that's very different.
There's a threshold right there where it's going to be like, okay, I got X amount of money into the build. Now I got to put $50,000 into the car to like
Yeah.
to be able to like take it to the next step.
Like get like an F body for an example.
Yeah.
You can get an LS1 F body.
Not a Fox body. There's too many of those out there.
Yeah, but even
No,
if you get a
like-
Fox body,
No,
because like
yeah.
the motor that you get with the Fox body won't be great to start off with as much as like an LS1
100%.
F body would be.
Something like a F body is a great starting point. The chassis work pretty dang well. They're a little bit heavy, but like you can make them light if you got a hole saw and some time on your hands.
But it's a good start, you know.
It's a
'cause
great
it
start.
makes enough power, and you can bolt on a turbo, you can bolt on a supercharger. There's that like levels.
There's the evolutions of that car, like you were talking about, and that is huge. Like you could, if you don't have any money to put in the car this year, you can run it as it is.
Yeah.
And if you want to like over winter, you upgrade and you want to put a turbo in the deal, you take off the nitric kit and you put a turbo, or better yet, you leave the nitric kit and add a turbo. But
And like a common car is nice too because it's easy to find parts for. You can trade
Secondhand
with
parts.
people and borrow stuff, and like wheels are easy to come by, and like you buy something that's weird, and I mean you've had some weird cars, but I feel like the stuff ends up being similar.
Yeah, like I try to like
bolt patterns and things
yeah,
like that.
I try to build, even though they're like older cars, like I try to build them, like doing the Noprep stuff. Like when I was building Straight Gangster, like doing the Noprep stuff, right? I changed the rear track width on the car. There's the section or like the track width on the tires, right? So it's more common with like the Fox bodies and the S10s and stuff like that, right? Because like a pickup truck's a little bit narrower, and doing the Noprep stuff, well, then I'm being in my own groove. Like I want to be in the groove of everyone else, right? And like the majority of the classes are like Fox bodies and like stuff with like a more similar track width on the car, right? So
That's interesting. I wouldn't even have thought of that.
most people haven't. I probably shouldn't even said that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's not many people building like complete one-off cars like outside underneath their friend's shop and like building 33 like Dodge trucks, right? But yeah, so like there's little things like that I do to like try to make everything similar, right? And like they made it so we didn't have to run a factory style front suspension anymore. So like a day later, it took me like a day of fabrication work, but I built a K member for the front of the car and like switched it over to a Mustang style front suspension on the car. So like if something happens to the car, I could get a Mustang strut pretty dang quick. Like you can put a strut on it.
Not like some weird off the wall tall strut.
Yeah. So like before, like it was a drop axle car when we initially started out because like it was initially a solid axle front end on Straight Gangster, and like if I'm allowed to take 100 pounds off the car, I'm gonna take 100 pounds off the car, right? Like there's no reason not to. So I bought the converted all over to independent front suspension. So, but yeah, just like little things like that, just to make it interchangeable and easier on parts and stuff like that. And
an interesting thing you said that really like kind of piqued up my ears a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with this, is because you race on a budget, you spend more time looking at the car to make sure everything's, because when things break is when things get really expensive. But if you catch things before they break, they're a little cheaper.
Yeah, preventive maintenance saves you a lot of freaking money. And like I've had a lot of parts failures this year from like the stupidest things, but like I can confidently say almost all the parts failures we had this year, there's nothing you could do about it. Like I had
Well, the mandrel, you could have looked at that 50 times.
They're like there's no telltale signs that thing's gonna shear off. Like unless maybe you put it under like an X-ray, but like there's no like you can look at the thing all day long. Like I checked all the bolts on and stuff like that last night. Like I was up till 4 o'clock in the morning. Not last night, Thursday night after testing. I checked all the bolts on it. Like I went over the car top to bottom, front to back. The only thing I found was one of the wastegate clamps was the bolt was like the nut was starting to strip out. So I replaced it, right? I kept some spares in the trailer. But I literally went over the car top to back, front to back, top to bottom, like the whole freaking car. And that's the only thing I found wrong on it, right? But like this year I had a touchscreen switch panel stick in the off position. I couldn't restart the car to run the race. Like I had to forfeit the pass. We run a 12 magnet crank trigger wheel on it. And for you people that are unfamiliar, well, almost everyone knows that there's a north pole and a south pole on a magnet, right? But a crank sensor is only going to read the magnet in one direction. Don't tell me, I can't tell you if it's north pole or south pole, but like all you have to do is, as long as the magnets opposed from each other, right? That's the side that has to stick out.
Yeah.
So, but long story short, that magnet broke off lengthwise. Like, I don't know if something came up off the track and hit it or something like that or what.
Yeah.
but that broke, and like that cost us. I think we were in the semifinals of a race, and that thing sheared off and broke and cracked. So then it lost its polarity because when a magnet breaks like lengthwise, it gets interference with North Pole and South Pole, I guess.
Yeah, it becomes two magnets.
It became two magnets essentially, and it loses that crank signal pickup on that time.
Yeah. How did you even find that too? Like, you had the issue, and then you have to find
it was a phantom issue too. So like, it only it would idle, it would do the burnout, but when it comes up into high RPM, I'm guessing in the back door of the software in the EFI system, that the thresholds might change or something like that. But yeah, because
it'd be going like this, and then
and it just lost it there. So it lost the magnet out there, and I was like, what the heck? And I went over there because it banged the motor shortly before that, and wasn't that big of an issue. But I was like, I'm checking all the wiring, I keep a spare harness and stuff like that in there, replace the harness, and this is during the race, and I'm like, okay, I got to do everything I can. And I grabbed just a feeler gauge and rolled it around the whole freaking deal because, I figured it could possibly be a magnet. I lost a magnet on car, right? And it's stuck on every single one. So, okay, that's good. And, check the sensor gap on it. All that's good. And, yeah, I didn't find it until I literally took the wheel off the car. And I'm looking this thing over after I, ohm out all this. This is after the race, after we lost. And I'm ohming out all the sensors, ohming out, everything. I was like, everything's in spec here. So I took the wheel off, and you see the magnet, broken in half. It's literally on the back of Straight Gangster for the people that don't believe me. So if you see us out at the track, and you want to see a friggin' rare earth magnet that's sheared in half, it's stuck on the passenger rear door. But, that broke. And then, the mandrel, stuff like that. You could look over the car all day long, and I could confidently say there was nothing I could do differently to prevent a toggle or a push button switch panel from sticking.
It's just freak accidents.
It's just freak stuff.
Sometimes it's the cheapest parts, and sometimes it's
Right now, I got rid of all my switch. I got rid of the whole switch panel. Banged the motor a couple times. Different issues with it. So right now, it literally has 5 50-amp toggle switches in it and a master on-off switch. Mm-hmm. And it's literally, one powers up. One gives the power to my coils, and coils and a fuel injector driver. The other one is my race switch, so it activates the nitrous and the timing retards and all that stuff. And then regular headlights and friggin' the water pump. But yeah,
I've always tried to do that with my car, my Camaro. It's got real switches, and it's always had it until we just rewired it. And now it has it's not touchscreen, but they're the push button ones, the 4x8 push
what
button.
What is it, a Haltech on the car or a...
Yeah, it's an R5 now.
But yeah. So that...
Those things are pretty reliable.
They're reliable. They got Haltech's doing some really cool stuff out there. I'm still on Holly because I started using it back in 2013, and I'm just really familiar with the software.
The Dominator is a great system.
It's a great system.
That ECU is very robust.
It's pretty dang robust. And there's I do a lot of stuff in the advanced tables with the Holly system, and I like that ability because I could build my own ladder logic in the Holly system, and I'm still comfortable using that system. So there's other systems that have other Fuel Tech has some cool things you could do with it as far as more they have more functionality in different aspects for more pure race car type stuff. The Holly system is really nice for doing some more. I like the Fuel Tech system for their their customer service, and they're always advancing their setup for racers. And racers push the envelope more than just about anyone else in motorsports, right? Because you're always trying to do something new, or you found out a new way to do something that's a little bit more efficient or a little bit more robust or has a little less chance of failure or whatever, or you're able to remove some of the parts to accomplish the same task, to make the system work a little bit more robustly, right?
Yeah.
Less parts failures or something like that. And I feel like Fuel Tech's doing a little bit better of a job at keeping that software updated for the people that are going through and, doing that evolution, the racers.
That new 700 looks pretty nice too.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool deal.
It's a big screen. So.
I didn't go to PRI. I didn't get to see it and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. The Alltech that we just put in is really awesome too because its PDM is built in.
That is friggin'
everything's controlled through the ECU. Like all the headlights, taillights, everything goes through the ECU. The fuel pumps, the whole nine, water pump, it's all through the ECU.
I've heard a lot of good things about Alltech, and that's what is that? It's a Australian company, right?
Yeah.
Australian. Those guys they're doing a lot of cool stuff down there. But yeah, Alltech's got some really impressive stuff going on with them, and I like the PDM. For you guys that don't know, that's an electronically controlled module, so that you can run all your high amperage controls off of it, like you said, like water pumps and relays and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the ECU can control it all smoothly without using an auxiliary box like you would normally do, or just a bunch of old school, headlight basically fuses and relays.
So for me, my headlights have to be through a completely separate electrical system. When I say that, I mean it's separate from the ECU. So my ECU controls the engine essentially, and boost control and stuff like that. And then I have other switches to control headlights, turn signals, blah, 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 blah. I don't have turn signals. I'm straight gangster. But hey, if someone wants to let me jump into sick week or something like that, no. I would try to do, It's
got a radiator, right?
It's got a radiator in it. I could fit the alternator and stuff like that on. I didn't have it on this weekend, but yeah. I wouldn't mind doing the 235 class with straight gangster.
That'd be cool.
8th mile 235. I think we could probably go. We can't go, we can't compete with the fastest guys in 235, but I wouldn't doubt we could go 450s with straight gangsters on the 235 8th mile stuff. And that'd be freaking fun. I think we go 450s or so.
Okay. I mean, that'd be super competitive.
It'd be fairly competitive. I think Devin Vanderhoof is doing the 235 class.
Is he doing it again this year?
I don't know. Maybe.
I hope not. He needs to put a rail tire on that thing for that car.
He needs to go quarter mile racing and go run with Brett LaSala and stuff like that. That'd be cool.
Chris Moore, Matt Moore.
Yeah, Matt Moore.
More race cars.
More race cars or more
racecraft.
More chassis works.
Sorry, Matt.
Whatever the hell your company is, guys. He's doing a lot of cool stuff. So if you're building
it's a badass company.
If you're building if you're building a Camaro or a Fox body and stuff like that, he's got literally cages that you order, and you could just put them in your car. Some of them, he does pre-welded cages. He's doing a lot of cool stuff. He's one of the people that did he get 30 under 30? I know you got 30 under 30. But I feel like he should have I don't think he ever got selected for 30 under 30.
I don't know if he ever made it. I don't know if he's he's probably past the cutoff now.
He's probably past the cutoff now, but that's one of those dudes that deserved it. You know what I mean?
He definitely,
he's doing a lot of cool stuff. He's got CNC benders and stuff like that now.
Yeah.
To help out, bring that price point down to a point for these entry level people by investing into his company, but also being able to bring his price point down to a point where he can make this stuff a little bit more easier for the average Joe to be able, safely go a little bit faster by putting better cages in their car and stuff like that.
Yeah, selling full weld-in 25-3 cage kits for cars that are good because there's a lot of cage kits that are just
rough.
They don't fit. You put them in the car and it's but you can fit my whole helmet in between the A-pillar and the cage.
That's not necessarily. So SFI, man, we could get into a big topic here. SFI is about, I'm not going to say it, but SFI, I should, but.
You can. No feelings will be hurt.
I don't care. I'm basically blackballed from the industry anyways. That's why I got to bust my butt so much. Not really, but there's a lot of people that support me and a lot I appreciate it. But at the same time, I'm kind of like Cooper on a lot of aspects here, where we're trying to do what's best for the industry and what's best for give the younger people or older people, but the people coming into the sport, give them the knowledge to get the best bang for your buck to enjoy the sport the best that they can, with the methods they have. And that's not necessarily always drinking the Kool-Aid and spending your money in the wrong places or going to go, do this thing because that's the fad, when if your goal is this, a lot of corporate companies will steer you this way when you could accomplish the same stuff on half the budget and still be able to take your family on vacation or something like that. I don't freaking know.
Yeah.
Right? But, like SFI is like the sanctioning body, I guess you could say, for drag racing for like safety features and stuff like that. So like the SFI cage might certify, but if the car, other aspects of the car aren't all there, like...
Well, there's things that aren't like safe, but still pass.
Yeah, still pass.
Like, yeah, there's really no... Sometimes it seems like there's no rhyme or reason behind how things operate.
Mm-hmm.
And even like cage certs have always kind of frustrated me a little bit.
Yeah, like the cage certs and like look at seatbelts, right? Like, I'm pretty sure NASCAR guys run their seatbelts like no expiration date on them. I'm pretty sure on that.
And we get like a year and a half, 2 years.
Something like that. I think 2 years.
Well, 2 years is what you should get, but you know, I ordered a set of seatbelts from Summit, and they were already 6 months.
6 months past date. Yep.
They're already 6 months into
their
I was like, well, now I only get a year and a half.
Yeah, I get a year.
Awesome.
Luckily down here though, you get a full year and a half. Up in New York, we might only get 6 months out of the damn things.
That's true.
No, but we've been leaving the car down in the Carolinas over winter and stuff like that, just because like it allows us to run the car a little bit more year round versus where we're from up in New York. But eventually we'll end up down in the Carolinas or something like that.
Yeah, is that more what you're thinking? Not like Kentucky area or something?
I like Kentucky, Tennessee, and the Carolinas.
Yeah.
It just kind of whatever deal makes the most sense kind of deal, right? Whatever. We're hippies to a certain point, right? So like whatever makes the most sense is where we'll end up.
Yeah, I mean, I just know, you know, from talking to like Jason and them and like Tin Soldier guys, there's a ton of racing to be had out there.
Yep.
And, you know, you kind of have to go where the racing is.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
And
everybody.
And the more money you spend on fuel, the less money you get to spend on your race car.
Yeah.
Like,
and the less money you make, even if you win.
Yeah.
If it cost you $1,000 to get there and you still win, you still got to take that off of your win.
Yeah.
That's part of your net profit margin there.
Yeah.
Is,
And it's just like, it's tight, especially doing it like the way I do it. Like it's a week by week basis type deal, you know what I mean? But I enjoy the hell out of stuff. Like I like racing. That's my escape from reality. I'm sure it's your escape from reality too. Like I don't really drink. I had one beer Friday night because after that thing broke, I was like, I had one beer, but like
yeah, I haven't drank in years.
Right? I don't get drunk or nothing like that, but I legit had one beer friggin' Friday night. But like drag racing is my little escape from reality, and that's like everyone has to have that to like help ground themselves or whatever, right? Whether you go fishing, whether you go, I don't know, go to the movies or something like that. Like everyone has to have their little niche to.
Yeah, I mean, even if I'm not racing, just being at the racetrack and spending time at the track, like anytime I hear like, oh, somebody's testing, I'm like,
yeah,
go check it out. Especially when it's testing, because normally I can just like slide right in there and go hang out and watch, and
you're a
one's around.
superstar over here.
I mean,
you guys are very fortunate to have Bradenton here.
yes.
Like, I've been to. I'm not going to name tracks, but I've been to other tracks where the people are just not nearly as cordial and friendly. And I'm talking about like track staff and like owners of the track and stuff like that, or like, and like I understand it to like, I understand certain like arguments and stuff like that, but like Bradenton, you go in there and like they're welcoming. You know what I mean? They're happy to have you here, and
it's tough because you know you got to remember some of these tracks like. They're not making any money. So it's hard to be happy in your business when you're just not making any money and you're just like getting yelled at by people and people are mad at you and you're just like,
yeah, like we need to do, as a whole, like racers need to do a better job at appreciating and just being a genuine human and saying thank you to the track staff and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Like, just like whoever it is, it doesn't matter if it's the guy cleaning up the trash at the track or like those guys when you so like Renee at Bradenton, right? He was there Thursday night when I rolled in. Yeah, I rolled in town. No, I rolled in town Wednesday night, whatever it was. Thursday night. is when I talked to him. But I was talking to him for a little bit, and just like a genuine dude. And that's someone that was a spectator at the track, ended up working at the track, and now like he helps out at the track and like is just a big hand at the track. And that dude is genuinely appreciative of the opportunity he has to be there and to help out the track and do what he can to like help that track succeed.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's working there, but like it's not a job to him. Like I talked to the guy for a couple hours. Like it's more, he has a personal investment into his job, and like a genuine thank you or like genuine human appreciation to like someone like that that's just like the track staff guy. He's not the manager of the track or anything like that. He's like grounds maintenance and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're
But,
all they have a great culture over there.
Yeah, and like the racers can help benefit that culture to the track staff by just being like genuinely like say thank you, right? Like if you have some type of whether you have it or not, like if you have a social media following or not, right? Go there and just like tell the people thank you, right? The starting line guys say, hey, appreciate you, have a good night type deal, right? Just simple little things like that has its benefits to motorsports also. And it doesn't cost a damn thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing is like these tracks, like I said, most of them aren't making very much money. Like BMP is lucky because, they have a bunch of big events. Mm-hmm. But if a track doesn't have a bunch of big events, like they're not making any money.
And a lot of people don't understand, like doing the small tire Noprep stuff that we do, a lot of these track staff, lack thereof sometimes, a lot of them donate their time. Or they work for pennies on the dollar, right?
Yeah.
They come work the whole day for $50 or something like that. Like, give them a thank you. Let them know they're appreciated for being there. Because, like, they're doing it mostly out of the good, like, not all of them. Some people, make a real living doing this stuff. But a lot of track staff and track owners are doing it because they want to see the sport succeed. Because honestly, it's not a good business venture. At least I wouldn't think so, right? Like,
no, for 90% of them, no. I mean, some tracks are breakout and they make, they're great and huge events. Like BMP is a great example. They have huge events. They have FL2K. They have the Nitro funny cars coming out. They have Pro Mod stuff. They have small tire stuff. They have all the Cletus stuff. Like last night was a sellout crowd.
That was freaking cool. Like that's like
how many sellout crowds do these tracks get where they're like, we have to actually turn?
It's a
how
sellout.
Many tracks turn people away?
Not many.
They're full.
And a sellout crowd for a 6-hour show. It wasn't even an all-day show, and it was on a Friday night, not even a Saturday.
Yeah, gates open at what 4?
4 o'clock.
Yeah,
and we were done by
9.
10 o'clock.
Yeah.
On a Friday.
Yeah, that's
what
impressive. Drag racing really needs more of that because we were talking about it. Like you can watch a football game. I don't, but you could sit down and watch a whole football game. It's really hard to sit down and watch a full drag race.
It is,
even for the most diehard fan.
Drag racing is freaking boring, and like I say this like from a love of the sport, but I feel like Cleese does a good job doing it, but I feel like drag racing needs to be more like a monster jam, right? Where these people that have, I'm not saying like myself. I'm a small.
That's Noprep Kings, I think.
Yeah, I'm a small fish in the pond, but Noprep Kings does it in a way where it's not. It's for TV. It's not for the people at the track.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like the interviews and stuff like they do. It's for the show and not for the people there, right? But like, just a quick, I know there's a big time constraint, like at the Freedom Factory for the at Bradenton for the Christmas tree race, right? But just like letting the drivers give if you want 2 minutes on the mic or you know what I mean, for the drivers, if you want a minute on the mic, like go out there, tell all the fans thank you, and like make it more like a monster jam or something like that, where they can make it more of a drag race, where the people that are in the stands get to feel not appreciated, but they get to get a little bit of a sense of who these people are in the cars, right? Because the car is one thing, and like the cars I build stand out a little bit more than a lot of the other cars. So like the car itself has a little bit of a personality,
It's not
right?
just a Fox body, right?
It's not just a Fox body, right? So the car itself has a little bit of a personality, but like I have a personality, you have a personality. Like Jason Terrell, that they won the deals. The Soldier Boys, that whole crew there, they got a personality, right? Like giving them 1 minute on the mic and like it riles up the crowd. And
he was fired up last night on the mic when they gave it to him at the end.
Yeah, but like just 1 minute or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe like in the semifinals, you like give them just 1 minute on the mic, like.
They were doing pretty well because they have
the Freedom Plus deal,
but they have the Megatron.
Yeah.
So they were showing it to the fans, which is really cool.
That's huge.
But again, not all tracks have
that
a
stuff.
Megatron, but they rent it. It's just a trailer.
Yeah.
They just bring it there. Any track anywhere in the country can rent one of those. Anyone can do this. It just takes more effort to make it better. But it costs money to do it better. So you have to spend the money to hopefully make it better to make the money back.
Or you try to find a sponsor to sponsor the broadcast, right?
Yeah.
Where you bring in a couple local companies. It doesn't matter if you have 5 companies at X amount of dollars or 2 companies at X amount of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Bring them on there and like let the mom and pop shows, and like that's the problem that we have with marketing partners and stuff like that in the Noprep world, right? Because like it's kind of like the outlaw style racing and stuff like that. So there's not many larger companies that want to get on board with it. You know what I mean? So like it's hard to do it as a smaller budget team without that funding, right? Because like if we did, so like going from like the drag and drive stuff and like the prep racing that I used to do to the no prep stuff, like I lost sponsors and stuff like that. And like I'm not saying like big sponsors or nothing like that. I never had like big sponsors, but like some marketing partners like discounts on parts or like some.
They just didn't follow you over to the different.
Yeah, they basically refused. Like they basically said like we can't be part of that.
The thing is though, if enough eyeballs get on anything, somebody will sponsor it. So that's really all it takes. Like if there's enough eyeballs, somebody will be smart enough to pay money
someone's going to do
towards
it.
As long as there's eyeballs. Like no matter what you do or make, like I mean,
it's just that teeth cutting era that like
the first one through the wall gets bloody.
Yeah,
always.
It's just going to happen. You know? Yeah, and like it's going to be that way for a little while until the companies start seeing the value of what, like War in the Woods example, right? Like that's one of the no prep races, one of the biggest no prep races in my opinion.
You were there this year, right?
Yeah, and like it's freaking huge. Like it's a madhouse. When I say like a madhouse, like it's insanity. Like it's not like the volume of people at Bradenton Motorsports Park, but it's about a fifth of the size. So like it is like it's packed, but it's a friendly atmosphere, and like just the videos of that place and stuff like that. Like the outreach of that race right there is massive. There's people that come in all the way from Australia, freaking Finland, freaking Alaska, like all over the freaking country and all over the world, just for like a 2-day race. Like that's pretty freaking cool.
And War in the Woods works too because it's front side. You're on the track, but it is still that no prep feel. Some of these backsides don't work because you can't put spectators there.
Yeah, you can't put spectators there.
You can't park. There's no parking by there because like it's not where you're supposed to be. The track's not designed like that.
And that absolutely kills it for us, right? Because like we depend pretty heavily on like merchandise sales and stuff like that to at least cover our fuel costs. Like if we could cover our fuel costs or like supplement our fuel cost. Like, I'm fine at, I don't know about this anymore because, like, we had a rough year this year. But I'm normally fine. If I could get to that race for, like, not a lot of money, I'm perfectly fine putting up my car against the rest of the field, right? I feel like I usually show up with a pretty prepared car, as prepared as it can be, and swing with, like, whoever we got to swing with, right? And, but, like, at a backside race or some of these races, essentially the backside stuff, the spectators... they're not in the pit area. Like, they're a quarter mile from us. You know what I mean? Like, they're parked all the way up at the starting line, and we're on the other side of the track, right? And, like, you don't sell no shirts. When I say no shirts, like, it's damn near brutal. Yeah. Unless you want to pay $500 to have a booth up there, then you got to have someone else. And, like, when it's just me, the girlfriend, and our 2-year-old daughter, and Sexy Rexy traveling with us, like, at what point does, like...
Well, and people are stopping by because, like, you're there at the booth.
Yeah, and, like...
If the booth's just there and they don't know who, like...
And I generally, like... I probably sold. So a friend of mine and his daughter came in to help out at the Christmas tree race here. But like I myself probably sold 50% of the merchandise, right? And like I want to shake the people's hand and tell them like appreciate them because like I genuinely appreciate the people that are in a lot of aspects of this deal are letting me live my childhood dream, right? It doesn't necessarily feel like a dream all the time, right? Because like it's a struggle sometimes, but at the same time, like I'm still out living my childhood dream to a large extent of it, right? And I want to generally thank these people that are helping me cover my fuel costs to come down here and experience this deal and like be a part of that, environment, you know, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of racers that don't do that. And like there's a lot of people that, you know, they just have someone else selling their shirts for them. And it's just like, if I could like cologne myself and I could tune my car and like sell every shirt there is,
Yeah.
I'd do it. You know, because like I want to show that genuineness and like appreciation of the people that are, you know, supporting you and wanting to represent what you represent.
Yeah, and they want to buy a shirt from you.
Yeah.
Like they want to buy your shirt. Give them your their money.
Yeah, and like just to have that like interaction, right? And like I try to give basically everyone a handshake or like, you know, bump their fist and like I appreciate you letting us ship the stickers and stuff like that here. But like I probably handed out 400 or 500 stickers to the kids last night. And like that was freaking awesome. The amount of kids 12 and under there was I wish there was a way to do the head count on like 12 and under kids or if you had that head count. But there was a ton of, you know,
it's a family event.
It's a family event.
It is families. That like it is the whole nine. People bringing their grandma out. You know what I mean? Like
there's freaking like. I met one couple that came out. These people had to be 75 plus. It was just a husband and wife that came out to watch, and like that's freaking cool. Like
it's awesome. I love
that's
that
awesome
for that reason.
And like. And the Noprep stuff, we don't get that nearly as much just because, like, it's got the stigma of being, like, a little bit more grudgy. And it, like, the stigma is true to a certain extent. But I could see myself doing, like, at least a handful of events of, like, this a year, right? Like, this is, like, an invite-only deal.
Yeah, it's like an exhibition event.
Yeah, it's kind of like an exhibition event. And, like,
with a trophy.
Yeah, and, like, I screwed up. Like, we had parts failure, so, like, I didn't represent it so well, so we probably won't get the invite next year. But, like, you know, it is what it is. Like, but I could see myself coming into trying to do an event like this, you know, a couple times a year. And, like, because it kills me that my girlfriend's mom had surgery on Tuesday. So, Maddie and MVP, my little 2-year-old daughter, weren't able to come in this weekend like they had originally planned. So, it is what it is. But, like, I would have loved to have, like, my daughter here, the 2-year-old, running around and like handing out stickers and stuff to get like that would have been like that would have been freaking awesome. And like she has her fun at the Noprep stuff and like she's hanging out with like, you know, the other crews and stuff like that. But like at an event like this where there's just so many freaking kids,
all the cars
like,
are decorated so cool.
It would have been like talking about like stimulus, like over like it would have been unbelievable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's worth anybody getting to, especially. I mean, you gotta get your tickets.
Guys, next year for like we might not be there because we sucked and we probably won't get the invite. But next year, if you have the opportunity to come down here, don't expect to see us because like we're probably not getting the invite. We sucked. But yeah, if you have the
there's always test and tune.
Maybe we'll come down for test and tune. Maybe try to sell some T-shirts. We'll be putting in the back 40. But come down here and like if you have an opportunity to make a weekend trip, it's right around the Christmas time. Take your kid out of school on Thursday or something like that. Come down and spend a long weekend from like Thursday to Sunday. Get back home for Christmas Eve. I got like a 20-hour ride to get back up to New York, probably longer than that, probably 22 hours or something like that to get back for Christmas Eve. But bring your family down here for a long weekend. Come to like the Christmas tree race, guys. It was. I don't really have words for it. It was something special. It really was.
Yeah. I talked to Garrett a little bit about this. I was like, I think we might need 2 classes here next year because, you know, there's some fast cars coming out. And I was like, maybe the faster guys get bigger trees.
Yeah.
Just to try to even it out.
Or the faster cars have to have a stand-up tree.
Yeah. Or like, you know, 10-foot tree.
Or the tree has to be vertical.
Yeah. Something like that would be fun to do.
That'd
to
be
like
interesting,
the faster
wouldn't it?
Guys. Just like separate it a little bit somehow. I don't know,
you can't cut the tree in half, Tin Soldiers boys.
Yeah.
No, that's smart of them. I like it.
It'd be cool.
I was waiting for someone to get like a 6-foot Christmas tree and cut all the branches off of it except for like the top and the bottom, right? Technically, it's tree. It's just like, it's just pretty damn bare.
It would look like the Charlie Brown tree where it's like bent over with the one.
Or you get a real Christmas tree and you like buy that, you cut that sucker down in like, I don't know, October or something like that. So all the needles are gone and it's just bare sticks hanging out.
Mine was pretty dead. Mine was definitely fairly dead after, some time of sitting there like that.
And I was like, guys, I've like, pull your kid out of school a day early and come down for the Christmas tree race. It's like, get a couple weekends in the hotel, or I guess there's a campground right down the road. Mm-hmm. Like, come down and like, it's something to witness. It's cool.
So let's touch on PRI a little bit here. So you didn't go this year, right?
Nah, I didn't go.
I did not go this year.
I went last year for about like 25 minutes, and they kicked us out for MVP. So guys, like I said, like we're basically race car hippies. When we travel, right? Like it's me, my girlfriend, my kid, and my dog, and like you could leave the dog in the motorhome or something like that, but like you can't leave like at that time she was 1 year old, and like she wasn't crying or nothing like that, and they kicked us out.
And MVP is her initials, right?
Yeah. So her name's Miley Victoria Plewniak.
Yeah.
And
that's fun.
We'll like I'll take a quick step back. So like in my opinion in like business and stuff like going forward, I feel like you're gonna have to have some type of what's called go with you to try to help you succeed in life, right? If you want to do something a little bit more special, or do something a little bit more than the other people, having a little bit of branding to who you are and what you want to represent in life has some benefit. So we actually came up with her initials before we came up with her name, and we travel a lot, so we were thinking like maybe Miley or Miles if it's a boy, and so yeah, her name's Miley Victoria Plewniak, and her initials are MVP, but it's just something that she could take on to, whether it's in drag racing or whether it's into sports or something like that. Like, It's just a fun little...
Yeah, it's just branded.
Yeah, it's just a fun little acronym, right?
Yeah.
Type deal. But, yeah, so they kicked us out last year. 100% understandable. I get that we're kind of like we're a little bit different in that aspect where, like, our kid is, like, legit part of the program. Like, she's with us 24/7. Like, she's at the races. She's at basically every race we go to. Like, it's just me and my girlfriend and my kid. That like that's our crew, right? Like, we have friends that come in and help out every once in a while. But like I build the cars, I tune the cars. Like, I do the chassis work. Maddie's like trying to help us out social media when like she's not being mom and like selling T-shirts, right? So Miley wasn't allowed to be there. Whatever, 100% understandable.
I get it. They don't let kids in.
I get it. Like the next year, the only thing was they invited us out there. Like we were asked to come out there, but whatever. So the next this year, like we didn't go, and the year before, the year Miley was born, 2 years ago, I didn't go just because like it's changed, like from what it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely, I'm not afraid to say what I dislike about it. I'm perfectly open because I will say what I dislike about it, because if you don't say what you dislike about it, it'll always be what you dislike. And maybe if I say enough what I dislike about it, other people will agree, understand.
I think a large majority of people do agree, and they're just afraid to say something. Because like I've talked to big companies and stuff like that, and they're like they've initiated, like, the topic come up in conversation, and they say it before I say it. But, like, it's just changed, right? Like, it's kind of like a mini SEMA nowadays, where it's not the genuineness of what PRI used to be. And I was fortunate enough to first go to PRI in 2013. So that's freaking 11 years ago now. And, like, back then, man, like, I got a little bit of notoriety from doing the drag week stuff and being in several magazine articles and stuff like that in Australia and like Hot Rod magazine and RPM magazine and stuff like that, and like the whatever the magazine is over in Australia. And then the video that 1320 did had something like freaking 5 million views or something like that. And I was able to get into PRI in 2013, but I walked through those doors with people like, don't quote me on this unless there's video, like surveillance camera from back in 2013, but it was people like, John Force and like Antron Brown and like one of the big radial racers that like was first going into like the 380s or something like that back in like 390s or something like that back in like 2013. But the genuine, like I felt out of place. 100% I felt out of place going into there. But it was such, and I'm like, those are just racers, but I'm talking about like big business people in the industry that like, I was like, man, I don't know if I belong here. But I walked out of that show and like, I was kind of like a kid in a candy store to a certain point, but I was there intelligently talking to multiple companies about like what I had plans to do in my future, right? About in like, whether it's like business, like I literally got 2 job offers at PRI in 2013 from different companies there. And like, I've never really said that to anyone besides like a couple of people, but I legit got, like, I'm walking around PRI and 2 companies gave me job offers just because I was sitting there and I was talking intelligently to them about like my future, right?
But and their product, probably.
And their product, right?
Yeah, you understood their product,
I understood
and they're like,
product,
oh shit.
And I understand like how like how the stuff works. And don't get me wrong, I'm not the smartest guy doing this stuff, but like I study this stuff and I'm pretty hardcore about it to a large extent. But like I don't want to say I'm infatuated with it, but like I really enjoy the evolution of the sport and like on a different level than just jumping in the car and going for a joyride type deal. But back then it was just so genuine of a show, and there weren't people signing autographs, and there weren't people in lines waiting to shake someone's hand. And there's benefit into that. I don't want to take that away from that, and I'm sure Cooper's going to put his input on it as well. But like, there's benefit to all that, but it's just not the place for the show. Like, it's just, there's a time and place for everything. I will sit there till friggin' 5 o'clock in the morning, or it's literally, there's times I've left Noprep races, like gotten into the friggin' motorhome to sleep at 5 o'clock in the morning because I'm talking to spectators till like legit 5 o'clock in the morning, like 5 hours after the friggin' finals, right? And like, I generally enjoy that. And I will sit there the whole friggin' time. But something like PRI, that's not the place for that.
There really shouldn't be spectators at PRI.
Yeah, and like there shouldn't be, I don't want to say there shouldn't be because like I'm not in a position to say there shouldn't be, but I could see a lot of benefit, I think that's a better way to say it, in not having autograph sessions and not having viewing parties at a show that's supposed to be about the product and the technology that's coming and evolving in motorsports.
Yeah.
Like, that's what...
It becomes like a cars and coffee.
Yeah.
Like...
That's a great way to put it. And like,
which there's nothing wrong with, but that's not what it
and I'll enjoy going to cars and coffee or something.
I like
cars
and coffee.
But
that's not really what PRI... It's the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show. It is a trade show for people that are in the trade.
Yeah, and like deeply in the trade, like even if I got...
If you sell parts, if you sponsor people, if you own a business in the trade...
Or if you're sponsored by some of these companies that are there, or like you're heavily involved in the sport, like if you don't eat, breathe, and sleep the sport, you shouldn't be there.
We're one, maybe 2 years away from people setting up merch booths.
I firmly believe that.
You know, because then...
so this is a really ballsy move that I almost did, right? Because like you could get some spots at PRI cheap, and I thought about doing it as a personal investment, right? I really thought about, like, I shouldn't even say this, but like, so going back, like, I don't know if this story is true, but like, I believe it was Kenny Bernstein, sponsored by Budweiser beer, right? I don't know if the story's 100% true or not, or maybe I got the names mixed up, but to my understanding, that dude painted his truck and trailer as Budweiser and showed up at Budweiser's facility without ever having a sponsorship dollar from them. And that turned into a multi-million-dollar, like, campaign after, like, but he showed up there with the deal, right? And, like, part of me was half tempted to show up at PRI Because you could buy a booth. Like I could get a booth there, right? Because like
Yeah,
I could have a Hustlin horsepower booth, right? Like there's nothing saying you can't, right?
No.
There's a lot of
Your money's green. That's all they care about.
that. Yeah, right. So I thought about putting my car in there, right? And I could represent every sponsor that sponsors me, right? I don't have a lot of sponsors. Don't get me wrong here, but like I get discounts on some products and stuff like that, and I could showcase all them, right? And you put that car in there, I bet you could make that profitable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you sell them the spaces that are going to be at PRI.
You can, and I'm not saying necessarily profitable money wise, but making the connections by having that car here, right? Because like it was the first time having Straight Gangster down here in Florida. That car, even though we only made one pass, it was mobbed the whole freaking time, right? There were spectators surrounding the car, like the whole freaking time.
Yeah.
Besides like the time that like the race is happening, but as soon as like the downtime's done,
Yeah, when there's a
like,
jet car going or Cletus,
yeah,
there
like,
ain't no one in the pits.
The pits are empty. Like it's a ghost town.
Yep.
As soon as that's over with, man, we had 10, 20 people around the car the whole freaking time, right? So like, it would be a really gutsy, ballsy move to do that. But I could probably get the people that like my marketing partners to go and try that. But like that's a little bit off topic. But yeah, like it's just changing about the genuineness of the show. And it's not nearly the same as what it was. And like we talked about with racing, there's an evolution to everything. But there's certain things that were perfectly fine the way they were.
And, you know, I will add, my first time there, I was there with Texas Speed. We brought our car there, and that was my first time there. So this was 2017 or 18. I didn't really understand, you know, I've been to trade shows before, but I didn't really understand PRI. And I was like, oh, you know, you bring a cool car, a popular car, and everybody comes and looks at it. You do these meet and greets. And then as I started to realize, I was like, oh, wait, that kind of doesn't make sense for this kind of thing. Like,
Yeah, so, like,
it shouldn't be that way.
Right around that 2016, 2017 era. So I went to PRI. Like
We probably were the ones that broke it then, me and Garrett.
Yeah, probably.
Bringing Leroy and
probably.
doing meet and greets.
Yeah, probably. But hey, whatever. I'll forgive you guys.
Someone
for that.
has to break it, right?
Someone's got to break it. Well, someone broke it. Thanks, guys. You ruined it for a small guy like me. No.
Now Garrett doesn't go because he's like, it's just a meet and greet.
Yeah. And like, it was right in that era. And like, Street Outlaws and friggin' you and Garrett just screwed it all up for him. No, guys, that's a little bit of a joke, but maybe not completely.
There's definitely some truth to it.
There's some truth to it. But it just changed what the show was about. And like, in my opinion, that's what like something like SEMA's for, right? It's just like a display, big indoor car show where it's just like the flash and the awe, right? But PRI is supposed to be like the nuts and bolts and the genuineness of the products and the software and the investments in motorsports. And that's what's supposed to be on the display there. Not the...
Should be hard to get into. Should be hard to get through the doors and go see everything.
Yeah.
And I've been to other trade shows. Growing up, my parents have my mom has a clothing store, and I went to trade shows, you know, all the time when I was...
That's why you're so fashionable today.
15, 16. Yeah, that's exactly where I got all my fashion from. But yeah, I mean, I was going to trade shows at 16, 15, 17, 18, like, you know, for a long time I was going to trade shows. And they're not that easy to get into, but also they're for like clothing. So there's not people like trying very hard to get in if they don't they don't have a need to be there.
And the thing is, just like a lot of people have the social media stuff just has changed the evolution of the show, you know, to a large extent. And like, it's benefited me. It's benefited all of us, right? To a large extent, the social media presence that we hold. Mine's small, like yours is a little bit bigger, and like there's people that are bigger than both of us combined, right? But that helps us to a large extent. But like, that show is not supposed to... That's supposed to be like kind of negated when you walk through those doors, right?
So
you should feel like a small I don't want to say it this way. We should feel like completely
We should feel like we don't belong.
Or completely privileged to be there.
Yeah.
Right? One of the two. Like, either if you get selected to be able to attend PRI, you should either be humbled or grateful, or a combination of the two to be able to walk through those doors. And right now it's just like, basically anyone could get in there. And it's just like not, there's people that go there that don't race, don't like, haven't raced in 10 years, won't race in the next 10 years just to get autographs. And like, I appreciate those people because like they support what we do. But as the genuineness for the sport, that ain't the place for it.
And I think they know that. And I think,
That's just a profit off of it.
Yeah, and they might almost even abandon PRI as that and like roll into the next thing because, SEMA bought PRI a few years ago and then they became their own thing. And then they started something MPMC, which a lot of people don't really even know about.
I've never even heard about it.
So they basically rent out like a whole hotel and every room is like a different.
Oh, I have heard about that.
Yeah.
That's one where where you had to bring your sponsor packets and stuff like that. And
you sit down with schedule with sponsors.
And each one of the sponsors have their own hotel rooms, and you go and market yourself at each one of those deals.
Exactly.
So maybe that's the
so
place
now they're gonna like drift into the next thing.
Yeah.
They're like, well, we ruined SEMA, now we ruined PRI, now we'll start MPMC.
Yeah, so
we'll ruin that, and then
I know two or three people that no, I actually know a handful. I know quite a few people that got selected or allowed to do that deal, and I totally forgot about it until you just mentioned that. But
I went once.
Where was it?
Out
Down in
California
or something?
The last one was the one I went to was in California. I think this one's in Orlando, but yeah, like I don't know. I'm not super interested in going. It's kind of not like you have to be really like. I don't want to say begging for money and sponsorships, but you have to really be like eager to accept what is like whatever comes your way. And I'm not like that. Like I'm not gonna just like if somebody's got cash. I'm
different, right? Like I've had opportunities. Like there's like a legit billionaire that wanted to team up, right? But he just wasn't genuine. And like I'm not. I like handing out stickers to the young kids and trying to do what I can for the sport, right? And I'm not going to compromise for that for nothing. Like, if I have to go friggin' park my operation, sell everything off for a couple years until I could get things situated to come back out and, like, jump into the next form of racing, whatever that may be, like, that's what I'll do. But I'm not going to, like, I'm not going to change who I am. And, like, when I say that, like, we all have evolutions as human beings, right? Like, as you grow and stuff like that, there's an evolution to it.
Yeah, but your morals shouldn't change.
Yeah, but like I'm not gonna like I'm still gonna let my kid sit in the car. Like nowadays, it's after we lose because like I've had kids rip out the steering like the trans brake buttons and like I lost the finals because like I had no freaking trans brake button. They literally ripped their wires out of the damn thing, right? So like I now save that for after the race because like I'll have time to fix it like after the event. But like I want every freaking kid at the property to come over, like, want to get a picture in front of the car, like, shake my hand, like, know the driver, freaking pet my dog, freaking hang out with my kid. Like, I want it to be that atmosphere, right? And, like, I try really hard, especially in the Noprep world, because, like, Noprep world is very much not like that to a large extent. It's very, I don't want to say very, but it's a lot more grudgy type deal, right?
Yep.
And, like, we race for a lot of freaking money. And it's understandably so, right? But at the same time, I want to keep that genuineness of the sport. And I want to make those spectators that are investing into the sport that I like truly, genuinely love to make their time there as great as possible, right? Because, like, it is kind of a boring sport when, like, in between rounds, like, all you can do is go on your phone and twiddle your thumbs. And if there's no cell service, like you don't want to just walk through the pits and like look at everything. Like if someone says hi to you and like, hey, like how's it going? Like how's your day going? Thanks for coming to the track. Like it changes your whole attitude about coming to the next event.
Some of these racers aren't capable of that. Like they're just too introverted to even like.
And there's nothing wrong with the introverted deal.
You have to be like a sale. You have to be like like a restaurant manager. Hey, how's it going? You enjoying your
but
time? Like,
see, like, but I do it like
just to get it started.
There's nothing wrong with people that do it that way too. I just do it genuinely, right? Because like I generally enjoy the sport that I do, right?
Yeah.
And like I've sacrificed so much to do this stuff, like, and I'm not saying this about poor me, but like I truly enjoy the sport, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to like try to get these people to be part of it and like enjoy their time here, right? Because
Well,
like
if they stop showing up, there ain't gonna be any money to win.
and like. Well, in the Noprep racing, they don't really give us no money from the spectator accounts anyways. But, like, that's a whole nother topic. That like,
Yeah, but they wouldn't put on the events if there was no spectators.
Yeah, because, like, they're not making their money then,
Yeah,
right?
that's what I mean. So, like, if they stop showing up, then the events stop happening.
But, like, even, like, I don't care if they buy a shirt or not. I'd like them to because, like, it allows me to come to, like, another race. But, like, I want them to enjoy their time at the track as much as I enjoy my time at the track. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that... I feel like that's my part of trying to help grow the sport.
Yeah.
Like, where I can benefit the sport from the position that I'm currently in.
And I think that's where PRI also falls flat, is they don't do enough to benefit the sport. I mean, maybe they don't consider themselves involved in drag racing. Maybe they're just, like, performance-oriented. But, like, there's a lot of drag... Like...
I'd say the show is what, 75% drag racing?
Probably 70% drag racers. Yeah,
I mean, there's
some
probably
road course stuff.
There's probably 20% that's
drifters.
Like 25.
Like,
yeah, there's probably 25%, 20% that's like interchangeable for like shock companies and like safety equipment companies that do, you know, road race, drag race, and boat stuff, like so on and so forth. But like, you don't really see hydroplanes there and stuff like that, right?
No, like it's
you don't
drag
see
racing.
You don't see like really monster truck type stuff there, like not monster truck shocks and stuff like that, right? Like you see like it's mostly drag racing, road racing, a little bit of like NASCAR stuff and like, you know, dirt car stuff. But I'd say the show's primarily drag racing currently.
And trailers.
Yeah, and trailers.
It's always nice looking at the trailers.
Yeah, wishing and dreaming.
Yeah, you go in and they're like, this one's $2 million for this trailer. And it's like, wow, that's very nice.
Do you want to sponsor me? And like, we could sell it and like,
I'll drive it around.
I could go take 1.995 of that and like put it into my program and like I'll go back around and like back around my hillbilly motorhome.
Yeah, so yeah, they always got some nice shit there.
Yeah.
But my other gripe with PRI is, you know, they're an advocate for motorsports. That was like their whole thing, the RPM Act, all that stuff, and they like, I believe we have the right to own and modify vehicles. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that anybody should be able to use that right and negotiate it with the government for me. So that's what they do. They are trying to help, but they're negotiating. So it's like, well, you know, we protected this, but we had to give up that. It's like, well, that doesn't help me because you gave up things that I want and I believe are all right that you just gave up, and I didn't ask you to negotiate for me.
Like, you need to be, I'm not overly versed on, I know about it, but I'm not overly versed on it. But I agree, like, they need to stand up on a large scale with a strong footing for what people in motorsports need to be able to keep the sport alive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, go look it over in Australia, right? Like, their power crews. Those guys go absolutely berserk, right? Because they can't use their cars, like, at all.
I was talking to some guy from New Zealand, and, like, New Zealand is so strict.
Yeah, it's brutal. They come over here, and they're like, there's Australians that leave their cars here all year round and come over here, like, once or twice a year. Yeah. Like, to be able, like, use the car that they have.
It's nutty.
Because, like, they can't, like, their rules are so strict over there.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's so, like, I don't want to be like that. And how does...
At what point is it not free?
And
like
that's
a free world.
That's my other fight, too, is, like, all these drag and drive guys go there and, like, oh, PRI, I love PRI. Oh, man, oh, man. I'm like, yeah, but they're, like, you're the first they'd give up. Mm-hmm. Drag and drive would be the first... They're, like...
The first event.
They would be the first group of people that PRI would say...
And I don't think they understand that.
Yeah, we don't support driving on the street.
I don't think they understand that. Like, I think the first thing they'd try to come after is trying to cancel the drag and drives, where you have all these race cars trying to drive on the street and like,
Yep.
oh, they have poor visibility, or they have, this is a group of
emissions.
cars that, emissions is bad, or
No
they're on
mufflers, no
unsafe
cats.
tires. They're the neighbor's cat's gonna friggin' squeal, or the dog's gonna bark because the car with loud mufflers came
And they're
by.
speeding. The misconception that people are like cannonballing from location to location when they're the slowest cars on the street.
Like if they want to like go after the freaking people doing like the freaking, what are they call in the big cities?
Them takeovers.
Takeovers. Go after those guys. They're jacked. They're donkeys. Like,
Yeah, anything genuinely. I get that.
if you're like we do some extracurricular activities occasionally, right? But we do them in a safe area and like with like legit security, right? But like that's different than driving, 150 miles an hour down the freaking highway, weaving in and out of traffic. If you do that, you're a freaking moron. Like I don't care if you bought my like T-shirt or not. You're an idiot. Like don't do that. Like that's just ignorant. Like
Yeah.
have a head on your shoulders.
Even like, all the 1320 videos of TX2K street racing, like it's 2 a.m. And they're on an empty highway.
It's empty. And like
It's not
they slow down
noon.
The cars behind them slow down enough so that there is a mile-long stretch of nothing but highway. So the only two people at risk are the two people that are driving.
Yep.
Right? Like that's a little bit different. Is it wrong?
They're doing dangerous things safely.
Yeah. And there's a way to do dangerous things safely.
I'll just always get frustrated at the drag and drive stuff that they're so fired up about PRI when they don't realize that they're the bottom of the totem pole and the tide is rising on them. And
Or they're the head of the snake.
yeah,
So like that's probably a better, like I think that might be a better way to look at it.
Yeah.
They're the head of the snake. Because like if they cancel that, it's a trickle-down effect. The rest of the thing's dying.
but they'll give you up. They will give you up in a second. I've even when PRI met on Capitol Hill, they had
I don't think a lot-
Antron Brown talk,
Yeah,
but they also
I don't
had
think a-
Richard Petty talk.
I don't think a lot of people understand how big PRI is besides just being the show itself.
Yeah.
Like the show is like their staple on image, maybe, if that's the wrong way to say it. But they represent a lot more than just that show. Like they represent all of motorsports as far as like representing motorsports in like the court of law and like on like these acts and stuff like that. And yeah, like you're saying, like
They fall short, in my opinion, though. They just they give up too much. They compromise at every turn, and it's frustrating. And if you're a firearm person, the NRA also does a similar thing where they compromise at every turn. But then there's I can't think of the name offhand, but it's like Firearms of America, and they don't compromise at all. They're like,
yeah,
we're not giving up anything.
That's how it should be. You know what I mean? Like there's like Second Amendment stuff, like that's Second Amendment, right? Like
Yeah.
that was written a long, long time ago, and like that just is what it is, and like doesn't need to be any compromise for it.
You
Like,
shouldn't compromise.
Look at other countries where that stuff has been outlawed. Like they ain't any safer than it is here.
No, and I believe all of it shouldn't be compromised. Nobody should be able to compromise on any of your rights if you don't have the choice.
If you didn't do anything to lose those rights, you should have them.
It's pretty hard to lose them.
I would say so.
Yeah, they're pretty well written. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's frustrating, and that's part of the reason I don't go PRI. I also don't care for autographs, so that's I don't need to get autographs.
I can never be famous because my signature will never be worth nothing because no two are the same. But like whatever.
I just write my name out nicely, and I always wanted it. I've signed a bunch of things, and I was signing stuff last night. I always wanted it to be legible. I never wanted a signature where it's like, who's that?
I started doing it recently where I sign my name and then I put HH. And then a lot of times, like last night I was putting Bradenton 24 or something like that, right?
That's cool.
Just so, because like I did that a couple times like way back when, right? Like I'm starting about like, not way back when, but I'm talking about like 2017, 2018-ish or something like that. And literally just like last year, this little kid that wasn't little no more came up and was like, hey, you remember when you signed this? and just like re-trigger that memory, right?
That's
But this
cool.
kid was like, he was now competing in the event, right? But I signed this shirt for him when he was like, literally whatever, like 8 years old, 9 years old, and now the kid's like 16 driving in the event. I was like, man, like that's special.
Yeah,
like,
that
like
is
that
cool.
stuff, like that stuff's cool. You know what I mean? And so like, yeah, I do little things like when we're at War in the Woods, like I'll sign it and like I'll put like, you know, War in the Woods, just like, you know, abbreviate it and be like, you know, spring of like 24 or something like that. And like, it's just kind of cool because like it personalizes it a little bit. And when like I'll get pictures or something like that, like on the Facebook page or whatever, and like of these kids like way years ago that like have the picture or like have that memory, and like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm also lucky enough where I think because I have an uncommon first name, it's easy enough to
Yeah.
distinguish. Like, there's not all that many Coopers in racing. I couldn't believe there was 2 on the 30 under 30 list. That was surprising, but
Congratulations on that.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's impressive.
Hopefully I get my jacket here soon. I don't know what they do with it if you don't get it in person. They just toss it.
They cut the name off that sucker.
I told Jimmy to go get it because he was at PRI and then he was here. Could have just delivered it to me, but then he never went and got it.
They cut your name off that sucker. They were using it for next
Yeah,
year.
that's for next year. But
That's another $40 there, Cooper.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, maybe the sponsors will be different on the back. I did notice, like, they showed the picture of the back and it was all these sponsors, and I was like, none of those are my sponsors.
Yeah, right? Like,
I'm good on that. I don't have fucking Peak sponsoring me. I don't need that on there.
but like at the same time, right? Like,
Maybe they sponsored the 30 under 30 list, but like they didn't give us money.
but what kind of like,
There's a lot of sponsors on that jacket.
yeah, but where does that money go to?
Not the people.
If it doesn't go to the people, like,
If it
where
doesn't go to the 30 people that won it, I mean, by all means, like, make your money. Like, Drag Illustrated Westbuck, by all means. But I'm probably not going to wear a jacket with a bunch of other people's sponsors on them.
Yeah, because like this is what we were talking about like a little bit yesterday at the track, right? If like let's say I have a product sponsor that's $2,500 worth of material, and I have a product sponsor that's $250 worth of product material. This person needs to get more coverage than this person, otherwise this person's going to feel shorted, and this person's going to get like feel privileged or like maybe feel a little bit like better about the deal, but this guy's getting screwed. Like, that's just the way it is, right? And like, if you got your marketing partners and now you're wearing possibly their competitor's shirt, that ain't gonna work out so well. Like,
They didn't sponsor me.
especially when this person didn't give you nothing,
Nothing.
right? Like, if you don't get like at least like a $500 gift card out of the deal or something like that, right? Like, at what point is it like you can't like? I hate to say it this way, like everything I do or say or whatever represents me and Hustlin Horsepower. And you is the same way. Like everything you do or say or like wear is a representative of you and the companies you associate with.
Yeah, I'm very particular on who I associate with on that level. I don't, I'm not just associating with anyone.
Yeah, like-
and,
like there-
and
there's
there's a
certain-
lot of products I would refuse
100%.
money from. Plenty.
100%. Yeah. Like I've don't get me wrong, like I'm pretty low budget doing this stuff, but like I said, like if you don't represent the sport in the way that I hope to see the sport represented, like it doesn't fit my brand, whatever my brand may be. But like what I mean, it doesn't represent the sport in the light that I want to leave. I guess you would like a legacy is for someone that's like famous or something like that, right? But like whatever memories I leave tied to the sport.
Yeah, but
that
everybody
I'm
will
involved
leave a
in.
footprint in it in some way or another. Whether there's a rule change.
Footprint's a good word. Yeah.
Like something,
Yeah. So like I want to leave that in the best light that I can. You know what I mean? And like I want to represent in the best way I can. And like if that means that I have to work a little bit harder or sleep a little bit less or like make a little bit more sacrifices or sleep without turning on the heat on in the motorhome when I'm out of town by myself, like So freaking be it. Like, whatever. Like, it ain't that big of a deal, right? Like,
Yeah, you'll live. Right?
I'll survive.
Yeah.
I've been surviving so far, right? Like,
Made it this far. Yeah.
I ain't dead yet. I might be on my knees, but I ain't dead yet.
Yeah, made it this far.
Come back, you pansy. I'll bite your damn leg off.
Well, good deal, man. We're gonna end this off here, guys. Hustlin Horsepower on all social medias. Nick Plewniak, you can reach out to him for shirts and
Appreciate
help him
you guys.
out on his program. Follow him, merch, the whole nine, because you know, support people like Nick because you know they're kind of the lifeblood of this sport.
I try my butt off, but
I mean, solo out here running that thing. You weren't technically solo, but you're
Yeah.
kind of solo.
I didn't know if I was gonna be like Tuesday night. I was like, I'm gonna be down here solo. Like this one's gonna be rough. Me and my dog with crooked legs and a blind eye. Like I don't know how we're gonna get this done, but we'll figure it out. It's prep racing. Like as long as I do my work in between rounds, like
Yeah.
I might not be able to sell as many shirts, and like I might be able to get a little bit busy, but like prep racing's like. It's kind of easy. I don't want to say it that way. Like it's got its challenges, right? But like no prep stuff, you really got to be like on your game and like in the groove. But like prep racing, if I'm out of the groove a little bit, but I'm straight, that sucker's getting down. Like it just is.
Bradenton preps from there to there.
Man, I walked through there last night. I couldn't get across the track. I'm stuck. I was like, and like I'm a foot off the wall.
Garrett lost his shoe.
Yeah.
He was fighting with it for a minute. He
like-
couldn't even pull it off the ground. He was there pulling his shoe.
I was walking in my boots on my heels. And like I was sticking, I was like, goodness. And I'm like literally from wall to wall looking for like that other half of my mandrel that broke off at 2.5 seconds in the run. And like, that one
So you had
sucks.
an idea of where it was.
Yeah. I was like, it's somewhere around like, 200, it probably broke off at like 250, 270 feet, something like that. So like,
Yeah.
it's got to be like somewhere around here. Like,
Can't be nowhere.
so I'm going to go back there and I'm going to look for it before I head back north. But
Yeah, it's worth finding it.
it's got like a couple $100 worth of pulleys on the dang thing.
Yeah, that'd be nice to find.
So we'll see.
All right, well, good deal, guys.
Appreciate it, guys.
We'll see you next time.
Make sure you
Thanks for watching.
subscribe to his podcast.